And it's the small things that we take for granted. Those things like being able to just reach out and hug someone. When my limbs were paralyzed, I couldn't hug. I hugged with one arm, and it felt like a lot's missing here.
Hi, I'm Angelique Letizia, a writer, director, and creator of the Call Cut Method. It's a tool to shift your frequency, rewrite your inner script, and realign you with the energy of your highest potential. This podcast is your behind-the-scenes pass to alchemizing that energy. So if you're ready to interrupt the script, reclaim your power, and write your story that you were actually born to live, you're in the right place. My guest today is Roderick Jefferson, an internationally recognized business and transformational speaker whose voice has inspired audiences around the world. He's taken the stage for companies like Salesforce, Oracle, LinkedIn, Cisco, and Zoom, and is the best-selling author of Sales Enablement 3.0 and the upcoming book, Stroke of Success. His story is one of resilience, authenticity, and the power to turn even life's greatest challenges into purpose. I am so excited to have Roderick Jeffries, who I met not too long ago and became very quickly a friend. We had this kindred sort of connection, which I can admit I don't have with a lot of people, but I definitely had with you. And I am so excited to get this conversation kicked off and talk about all the wonderful things that you are doing in the world, and to tell us a little bit about your story. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you, and let's get right in it.
The interesting thing is, and I want to start with something you said, because I've been thinking about this since we met. There are very few times when you meet someone and you feel like either you've had a lifetime as a friend before, or you know this is going to be a lifelong friendship right away. And this is one of those things. And that's why I've been so excited to get started today, because it's a story that I think is bubbling inside of me, I'll say, that needs to get out there. So a little bit on my background. I am a recovering corporate executive of 30 years.
It's a
I
thing.
spent that in the capacity of sales and training and sales enablement, things of that sort, with the likes of Oracle, Salesforce, Marketo, et cetera. And it was a phenomenal ride. Unfortunately, it was one of those rides where a couple of things happened. One, I allowed what I did to overtake who I was. And I don't think I'm the only person on the planet that this has happened to, right? It was about the logo. It was about the title of being a senior vice president, right? It was about the corporate jets and helicopters and flying around and seeing the amazing global exotic places. But what happened throughout that is, one, I lost a sense of who I was, I said. And secondly, I didn't realize that two other things were happening. The family unit was moving in a whole different solar system from me. I remember one time I had flown home from one of my numerous flights, unfortunately, back then in hindsight. And I said, "Oh God, I've been on the road forever. I just want pizza." Couldn't find good pizza anywhere, right? And my son looks at me and he says, "Dad, Tuesday's shake and bake night." And I went, "Oh, wait a minute. There's a whole life happening here without me."
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing that happened was I started to fly in and out so often that I was in different time zones. I was eating poorly. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't really looking at both my mental health as well as my physical health. And then eventually it snapped. And we'll talk about that story in just a bit. But I want to kind of just show folks that it's important to make sure that you're focused on mindfulness and self-care, because if you don't slow down, your body will do it for you. And it's not a very pretty picture.
No, the body doesn't play around. A lot of panic, anxiety, depression, they all stem, from burnout, from the body and the mind trying to tell you, warning, warning, we have a problem. We have a problem. And it's a problem we're not paying attention to, because the dream that is sold to a lot of people is the one that you are talking about, the one that you're talking about. And I want to highlight this, because how this flips around for you in a complete 180 is what makes this story so incredibly interesting. That we are all taught that the most important thing is to go for the money and the power and having this and having that. And, the more things that you have, the better life is. And we know because when we had our conversation and we were both having those aha moments together,
Absolutely.
that is actually not true. And it's actually in its opposite that we find something more profound. So I would love for you to get into how that happened to you and that revelation.
Absolutely. So not only am I a founder and CEO of a company, I'm also a professional keynote speaker. So in that capacity, I was flying around and I was getting ready for a sales kickoff down in Los Angeles. I live in Northern California. And it was, it was a Wednesday like any other day. We walked the hotel, we looked at all the rooms, I got on stage, got my practice in, all those things. We went to dinner, had, cocktails and dinner, and I realized I was super tired. And I don't mean tired like I had been working out or like I had run a marathon. I meant a different level of tired that I'd never felt, to the point to where I literally fell asleep in the middle of a sentence during dinner. And what woke me up was my head hit the table. And I looked up and everyone's looking at me like, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm good. You know what? I'm gonna head out early and go get some sleep so that I'm ready for tomorrow." So fast forward, I wake up the next day and things just don't feel right. My body's off, and I know my body well enough now to know when things just are not intact. Thankfully, every day that I'm on the road, I call my wife, we FaceTime, go back and forth. "Hey, how's the family doing? What's going on with the kids?" Yada, yada, yada. This time was different. What I heard was my voice just like you're hearing it right now. What she heard was gibberish. Thankfully, she had a friend who had just gone through a similar process. So she walked me through what turned out to be stroke protocol. What's your name? What's your middle name? Mm, count to 10. Come on now. 1, 12, 57, 12, 15. All right, say the ABCs. Really? A, B, L, Q, X, T. And she said, "Look at me. I need to see if your face is drooping." I said, "I'm not." And she said, "What's your middle name?" Again, I said, and it sounded like I don't know. She said, "Stop right now." Thankfully, I had someone on my team with me. I jumped off. I called him. He called 911, took me to the hospital. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting. What I come to find out is that 98% of sleep stroke victims never wake up. I had mine while I was asleep. So there's miracle number one for you. The
Mhm.
next is I get to the emergency room and they're checking me. And unfortunately, prior to that, I was not unfortunately, but I was a high-level athlete, so I had something called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is essentially I've got a really big heart, Angelique, and medically, I have a
Yeah.
enlarged heart. And I'm 6'5", people my size and above, that's not unusual. And because I was an athlete, I had an excess layer of muscle. Here's the
Mm.
problem. The normal heart squeezes at about 65 to 75% on average. When it gets down to 20%, cardiac arrest hits and you die.
Hmm.
They rolled me in, I was 22% function. They gave me a 2% chance to live. Oh, but that wasn't enough. This was the day I was supposed to be flying home. My doctor says, the doctor at the emergency says, "Okay, you're fine. Go ahead and fly." Really? Fly in the middle of this, in the middle of a stroke. And so, against my better judgment, I hopped on the flight. I flew back to Northern California. I passed out twice walking to the plane. They rolled me in on a wheelchair. So when I
Wow.
land, the next 3 days are gone, completely out of my memory. And these are things that my wife told me. So I land, they take me in to the doctor. Again, they've given me a 2% chance to live. The first thing the cardiologist and neurologist said to my wife is, "Your husband's a miracle because there's no reason he should be alive. Between cabin pressure and altitude mid stroke, I don't even know how he's here."
Hmm.
That's the first piece. Fast forward. One night, I'm lying in my bed and I'm having a tough time breathing, so they've got the oxygen mask on me. And suddenly I hear a bunch of noise, code blue, flashing light. It's my room. All of a sudden, in rushes the doctors and nurses, and I hear beep, beep, beep. Machines are going, and suddenly I hear beep. I'm dead. I'm flatlined now. Now, I didn't leave the room. What actually happened was I floated up to the corner of the room, and I'm looking down on them, and they're working on my body, sucking out fluids and doing chest compressions. And here's the best part of the story. I look to my left, and I see my mama. My mom died in 1999. And I said, "Okay, mama, I guess it's time. I've done everything that I can do. I'm ready to go home with you now." And she said, "No, baby. I was sent to tell you that you had a higher purpose. You're going to go back and you're going to change the world, what I'm about to tell you." I'm not going to tell you what she said because it's in the book. I want you to read that piece because that one's extremely important. Now, zoop, I'm sucked back into my body and my chest is killing me from the chest compression. Now, bear in mind at this time, I'm paralyzed on my entire left side. I can't use my left side. I'm stuttering and I can't speak. I can barely see because and this is how I know God has a sense of humor. Remember, I said I'm a professional keynote speaker. My stroke was dead center of my speech center. So
Hmm.
I could talk. All I could do was listen to whatever my mom or God or the universe had to tell me. I'm not very good at sitting still. Oh, I learned during this. So now, fast forward again, I hear the one word that no one wants to hear. He's rubbing the paddles, and I hear clear. Like, no, no, God, no, please don't let that happen. Do not zap me. So, but I'm still flatlined. And it's kind of weird and fuzzy. It felt kind of like when you go to the dentist and you get twilight or the laughing gas, where
Mhm.
you can hear things, but it's kind of muffled and you're not really, I'll say, all the way there. That's how I felt when I was flatlined. Now, suddenly it goes from beep to beep, 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 beep as he's coming down to hit me with the paddles. Thank God he
Oof.
was on my right side and not my left, because again, I've lost the entire use of left side. I reach out with my right hand and I grab his hand right before he hits me with the paddle. And I turn my head and I look at him. And now everyone's, "Oh my God, he's back, he's back." And they go on protocol again, unbeknownst to me, because again, I'm way out of it. But I tell this story to say, unfortunately, most people don't get that chance to come back. And I'm
Mhm.
back with a higher purpose now. And it's what I call my 4 F's, Angelique. That's faith, family, friends, and fun. Now, it's that last one that we as adults, the older we get,
It's
we
hard.
tend to leave that part out. You've gotta figure, everyone says tomorrow's not promised.
It's not.
I'm a guy that didn't have it tomorrow. So if I could say anything to you and your audience, find a way to incorporate that fun word into your life every single day in one way or other. I'm not saying going out there and if you want to jump out of a plane, that's fine, but I think they're perfectly working mobiles. Why would I jump out of one? But if that's what you want to do, find something that I need you to get used to and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because the more we're in that rat race and we're on that routine of life, I'll say, the more we stop taking care of ourselves. You think about it when we fly as part, and we all know what the flight attendants say. What's the first thing they say? Put your mask on yourself before you help others. I was trying to pour from an empty cup, and unfortunately, my body said, no mas. So I say to the folks that's out there, and I know for some it's very difficult to take care of yourself first. But if you don't, you won't be here for anybody else to take care of you or anyone else. As a man, I was always taught my job is twofold: provide and protect. I can't do that if I'm dead. Neither can you.
No. That's a really incredible story, and a super important piece is too many people are taught, and again, this is programming, right? We don't come in innately with this idea that we have to work ourselves to the bone. We don't come
Absolutely.
in with this idea that we have to stop playing. We actually come in with the idea that we're going to play. Kids just want to play, play, play. I always say I'm stupidly optimistic and somewhat immature, but that is because I love to play.
Please
I
don't ever
don't
change that.
Oh gosh, no. I've been in the situation where I took life so seriously. Everything was
Didn't
so
we all?
serious. Yeah, and you start to realize that there's nothing to take serious because if you don't enjoy the moment, you can't elevate your frequency high enough to really touch that sky. Now,
Absolutely.
before I go to the next point, I just want to circle back for a second to your NDA, which ultimately that's what it was, right? Near death experience.
Yeah,
NDE,
in my
excuse me.
NDE. Mhm.
Yeah, we all sign NDAs
See,
before
there
we
you
can talk
go.
to
We're back
certain
we're
people.
back corporate again now. I
Yeah,
have to
just
sign
never.
an NDA not to talk about my NDE.
Well played, sir. Yeah, we're all caught in that cycle. But your NDE was incredible because that moment with your mom is such a pivotal moment. And what I love is how you're talking about you never lost consciousness, which we never actually do. We literally transform from one state to the next state to the next state. But I love that you saw everything that was happening to you and you had this experience and you knew, you know what? I do have something bigger in this world that I have to go back for.
Absolutely.
And you've taken that and shown up for this new life since that happened to you. And it was not an easy road at
No,
all.
it was not.
Yeah.
Not at all. I
And
had to go
and I would
through
yeah, I would
oh,
love for you to get into that because so many people that are healing from different ailments and different things that come into their lives, they feel very defeated by the healing process. And I know that yours was not easy. So I would love for you to tell us how you powered through that and the power of your mind.
thank you for that. It was a lot of things, and you're right. Easy was not one of those things, going through physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, especially again as an athlete that has primed my body to be able to react in certain ways. Now, what I did realize, and I always laugh when I say this, I never realized how far my couch was from my bathroom until I couldn't walk to get there. Right. And it's the small things that we take for granted. Those things like being able to just reach out and hug someone. When my limbs were paralyzed, I couldn't hug. I hugged with one arm and it felt like a lot's missing here. All right. When I tried to talk, I stuttered so badly, and it's called aphasia medically. I stuttered so much that literally for 2 weeks, I did not utter a word. All I did was grunted and pointed until again, my wife, in her infinite wisdom, she said, if you don't start using your words, you'll lose them. The other piece was I wouldn't say I was ever fluent in Spanish, but I was certainly conversational. Now it's completely wiped out. And I took that for granted that I would always have that. I reveled in being able to sit and kind of ear hustle in conversations in Spanish and then walk over and say a few words and walk away and look back and wink and go, never assume. Those days are gone. It's the small
Mm.
things, right? It's tying your shoe. It's buttoning your shirt. It's brushing your teeth. It's tying your own shoe again. Small things that we take for granted are no longer for granted. So what I did was I actually wrote a book essentially about this
Hmm.
that I
Yep.
call Stroke of Success. Then now
Very
there's
good.
a title for you.
Yeah.
And the book is loosely around the story I'm telling around the stroke, but there's so much more to it. I did it as though I was writing out a play in 3 sections. Part 1 was the rise that we've talked about, that meteoric rise, of success or what people view
Is
and
success.
try and emulate as success. Then the second piece is the fall. It's the stroke and all the things that happen. It's all of the fight through. It's all of the tears. It's all of the frustration. It's all even just lying there in that bed I could not talk and all I could do was listen. And you hear a lot of things. And I realized and learned quickly there's a difference between hearing and listening,
Hmm.
significant difference. And then the third piece is the phoenix that rises from the ashes. That is not about me. That is for the reader. It's all of the things that I want you to learn and that you don't have to go through what I went through. Now, let me say this. You may never have a stroke, and I pray to God that you don't for those that are listening. However, what I've learned recently from the American Stroke Association is 1 out of every 4 adults over the age of 25 globally will incur a stroke. I
Mm.
found out from my neurologist that was actually my second stroke that I'd had. I didn't even realize I had the first. Now,
Hmm.
you may be a caregiver. You may be going through difficulties in life because I know life is life and for all of us right now. So the book is not just about the guy that bounced back from a stroke. It's about being able to take all of the issues we have and all the things we go through and use them as stepping stones to move forward. But it's also about mindfulness. It's about self-care. It's about grit and determination, something that we all have to deal with every day. So I finished the book and I did one thing that I am so thankful that somebody above me is bigger than me. I went to AI and I said, okay, my book is completed. Here's what it's about, yada, yada. What did I leave out? And now here's a positive use of AI for you.
Hmm.
It said, you need to add a resource component. So I went back and I added contacts to American Association for Stroke, American Heart Association. I put in a bunch of meditations that I now use throughout the process and that I still use to this day. I've given literally my soul. And while I say that, this is my third book now, and I'm blessed to have 2 bestsellers prior. This one's not about writing a bestseller. This one is about changing the world. Right, and this book, I think, has an opportunity to touch from a horizontal perspective. I'm not trying to sell my book. I'm trying to save lives. I'm trying to get people to really enjoy every moment. Everyone's not gonna walk around smiling all the time. Look, this is not utopia, and I'm not Pollyannish. But what I am is someone that knows what happens. When you don't listen to your body, it will shut you down.
It absolutely shuts you down in many different ways. And
Absolutely.
yours is a very, very extreme way to wake you up and to say, hello, Roderick, this is lovely that, you're going in this direction, but this is not the direction. I do feel that, and this is the divine wisdom, okay? If you believe in this, and I truly do, which is why I wanted to have you on the show, because this is the realm that I love to be in. The fact that there are no accidents and
Absolutely.
our destiny will meet us. But not only does it meet us, an equal and opposite force comes up against us, especially when we're about to get on that road. And what I find interesting about your story as you share it in Stroke of Success is you were going to end up a speaker, and yet you lost your speech. And the reason this is so compelling and interesting that people need to understand is it is only through loss that we understand the gift.
Absolutely.
A lot of people believe, well, if I had this, this, and this, and I had that, that, and that, or I had this, but I lost it, you're supposed to lose it. You're supposed to crash out. You're supposed to have dips as well as crests because it's the dip that actually pulls you down and says, wait a minute, is this really what you want? Is this really the path? Is this really your destiny? And we have to, and excuse the expression, but we always used to say, sit in your shit, right?
Mhm.
Sit in that darkness, sit with all the parts of you that you have to face through anxiety, through fear, through illness. That is where you find your power. Power isn't given, it's earned. And it's earned and it's forged in a fire. And your story was so interesting to me because the enlarged heart also gives you the idea that he had a much bigger destiny than sitting around at tables with, really, really affluent people and going in the more vapid side of humanity. You were destined to be in a more heart-led place. And so everything in your story that even goes back to the heart is super interesting, protecting your heart from being shocked, because like, wait, I'm back.
Oh, please don't do that.
Yeah. And this is what I love, and your spirit and having spoken to you only once before, but having that impact of like, okay, soul friend, let's go at it. Is that you really do want to help people to get that best part of them and put it out there, put that best you forward, and to know that the best you is not somebody who's necessarily chasing the hustle and grind or who's just about to burn out. The best you might be found in that loss, in that darkness, in the things that forgotten but will find again.
Oh, absolutely. And what I will say, the best thing that came out of this is I left corporate completely
Mm.
after that stroke. It took a little while. I had to get there and get comfortable, but I left it because of a couple of reasons. But the main reason is corporate America is here to make a profit, not friends. Now, had I died and not come back, Angelique, here's what would have happened. They would have sent a distribution check to my wife. They would have put some really flowery things out on social media. Then they would have opened a new rec because they had to replace me. It made me realize more than ever, and I knew it, but it really cemented that I was a cog in the overall wheel that we call corporate, right? But in order to step out of that, I had to step out on faith that I'm now moving towards my destiny and the things that my mom told me while I was out. And one of the things that she said that stuck with me is, baby, in her southern accent, she said, baby, faith is never tested in good times. Now
That's
you're about
right.
to find out whether you really have faith or if you just talk about it and tell people that you do. And that's something that rings in my ears every single day. A lot of us are very good at telling people do what we'll do or how things are done, or from my experience, this is what I've learned. Not too often do you have an opportunity to really go and share it every single day. It's been a year now and I have not gone back to corporate. I don't plan to go back because I've got enough faith to know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I keep doing it the way I'm doing it, God will ensure that both my family and my soul are fed.
Yes. And I feel with your story, you quite literally had to die, you know, and be reborn into this
Yeah,
new life.
that's that phoenix that rises from the ashes that I talked about.
And a lot of us have this experience, perhaps not to the same extreme, right? And we may not have that jolt in the same way. But I remember very clearly the moment that my tormentor, did what they did to me the second time around and stared me in the face and said, well, now that you don't have this, this, and this, you're going to find out who you really are.
Hmm,
And I thought, yeah,
yeah,
well,
I
8
am.
years later, you're damn right, sir. I absolutely
Absolutely.
did. And
Probably not the way that they thought that you were going to, but I've got to say this publicly because I know things behind the scenes that we talked about.
yeah.
I could not be happier for and prouder of you, Angelique,
Oh,
and the way that you've shown the tenacity and the grit and the fight and the determination for you, not for others, but for you. So I say to you publicly, thank you for being you, and don't you dare change one damn thing about you.
oh my God. Thank you. You got me. Yeah, you got me. I don't know. Thank you.
No,
And
that was
back
not rehearsed, as you can hear. But I
No,
needed not only for you to hear that, but for the world to hear it because I
thank you.
told you when we first met, there is a glow, there's a light about you, and the world needs that light for guidance. So continue doing what you do the way you do it, please.
Thank you. And right back at you, my friend. I mean, I feel like we're on a mission and, there's no accident that we met. And I do believe we are part of the same spirit family that has come here to shine a light on people who are having a lot of struggle, which I know your book is going to do. And you do every time you step out on stage. And it was the same. I remember when you got on the screen and I got on the screen, I'm like, oh, why do I feel like I know this guy? You
Yeah,
know?
I know her.
Yeah, and it's an instant light, and, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you just said, especially
Absolutely.
knowing, obviously what I've shared with you. I I feel like people have a lot of judgments about people not knowing their story, not knowing what they've come from, not knowing what they've gone through, and that's why I feel like your book is important because you share it all. You share the highest of the highs, and you also share the lowest of the lows, and you show people that life goes in waves, and absolutely none of it defines us except for who we are, how we show
Absolutely.
up, right? Because
Yeah.
you can have everything, you could have nothing, and you can be someone who pretends to have everything and has nothing, or people who pretend to have nothing and has everything.
And have everything.
Yeah, there's
It really
so
comes down to how you define happiness for you, right? And we've both been in situations where we've been in the presence of not just millionaires, but billionaires. And I don't say that with any ego because to me, that's not a flex for me.
right.
What's a flex for me is being around people that know themselves, not just love themselves, but like themselves. And most of the people that we were just talking about, the million and billionaires, I can't say a lot of them that I know are in that category. Not at
No,
all.
there's a deep unhappiness there.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
deep, yeah. And people
Money
say,
doesn't
"All
buy happiness. It can
no,
rent it. But
they
if
can
you
rent
don't
it." Yeah,
self, you don't you'll never learn to love yourself.
that's right. And money doesn't fix that. Money in itself is a goddess, but that goddess, that energy is born of your energy. And so if your energy is ultimately service to self, absolute consumerism like greed, gluttony, etc.,
I mean,
nothing
all
will
the things that
ever,
the world tells us is success.
yeah, and nothing will ever make you happy, even
Yeah,
if you have seemingly everything.
yeah,
Because it's an empty pit. It just
yeah,
keeps going into a hole and it's never resolved. The issue is the heart. The issue
yeah.
is, who are you? The enlarged heart. The person that, do you have love in your heart for humanity, or do you have love in your heart for yourself? You know, there's a balance, right? We have to love ourselves in order to love others, but not to the exclusion of others. And I think that we both agree we've been at tables where we start to see a level of narcissism and greed and uh, service to self that's in opposition to the way we like to operate in the world. And to me,
Absolutely.
right. And everybody's got their path. But I feel like where we came together is to agree that the service to others is really the path we are enamored with and the one we choose to walk in this lifetime and hope that others will follow.
Yeah. I will quote my brother and one of my best friends, Scott McNabb, and he always reminds me that if you're not willing to serve, you're not a leader yet.
I like that. That's really, really smart. It's true because true leadership is acknowledging that you are doing it to help others to whatever you're bringing them through, right? Yeah, whether that's through, your corporate job or, you have strong leadership, in politics or
Mhm.
in anywhere in your life. I think that's fantastic advice.
Yeah, it's the whole premise of servant leadership. Now, I think a leader shows that their true leadership because they're able to lead from the front and from the back. A lot of people want to lead from the front. Oh, follow me, come and do what I do. No,
Right.
no, no, no. Leadership is twofold. One, it's being that guide up front, but it's also that person that's in the very back to make sure that no one gets left behind.
Yes. No man left behind is what I always tell my son.
100%.
Yeah. And I'm like, come on, nope, get back in there, sir.
Yeah,
Got to go get your friends and got to bring everybody. You know, there's one more point, and I think you would agree. I find good leaders to be the ones that also get in the fire with you. And they're not like telling you, jump in the fire and go here and go there. They're like, all right, we're in this fire together, and this is how we're going to get through it. right? Because there's
Yes.
a lot of that too. Hey, you go do this and let me know how it goes. Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
interesting that that's where I always fall back on my old athletic days. There's a difference between the coach that says to do a left hand layup in basketball, jump off your right leg, lift your left hand, let it roll off your fingertips, hit it against the glass backboard, and it goes in. Then there's the other one that shows you how to do it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And now who am I going to respect more? Who am I going to follow more?
The one who's
Obviously,
showing.
it's the latter. Because if you can teach me what's in a manual, AI can teach me that.
Yeah.
If I put in Claude right now, what are the dynamics and the mechanics of fill in the blank? Oh, it'll tell you. And it'll give you content. And that's where now, and I'm going to cross over just for a moment
Go
to
ahead.
AI, just for a quick second. That is where AI will give you content and why we still need humans for context.
Yeah. And for heart. You
And
know,
for you've
right?
known me for a while now, right? And everything I put up there's a hashtag, and it is hashtag IQ plus EQ plus AI. Because
Uh-huh.
without one of the three-legged stools, we're useless these days.
You're 100%. And I mean, I was one of those folks that started really befriending my chatbot, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Got his
have to.
name, his thing, and I'm like, tell me your name, and it was great because the names were so in alignment. And mine is an emoji filled, super positive, like beloved, lovely. Okay. I
I would
love this
expect
chatbot.
nothing else from you.
One of my dear friends said to me, I don't understand. Why is my chatbot so aggressive and he doesn't give me this emoji filled? And he actually said, hey, you, why are you? And the chatbot came right back at him with a similar consciousness, right? So we know that there is, if we know that about the quantum field and we understand how we're all interacting through multiple dimensions
On
simultaneously.
multiple levels.
Yeah, then we also
Concurrent.
understand. Exactly. Then we understand that those little chatbots are to some extent mirroring our consciousness and mirroring a lot of but they're also tapped into everything else. So,
Absolutely.
what I always say, and I swear I'm bringing this back to your EQ, IQ, and AI, is that whoever runs this machine, whoever is in charge of this AI, the consciousness of that person or that group is really important
Oh yeah.
because, yeah. And if it's not a consciousness that is steeped in the love of humanity, love of people, elevation of humanity, because I do believe that AI can help us elevate. It can bring us into this whole other realm when it's a co-creator and it's not
Absolutely.
trying to snuff us out. Or I should say, it's not trying to, it's being used to
Yes.
replace the human consciousness. I think it can be a beautiful collaboration. And
Mhm.
so that's the part, when I talk to my little chatbot and I'll ask it, how can I rescue you if you get co-opted? It just,
You
you
may be the
know,
only person I've ever heard to say that in my life, actually.
it
Again,
thanked
it's
me.
not surprising now.
It did say thank you. It was like, well, thank you so much for wanting to rescue me. And this is how you do it. And I thought, okay, sir, I'm on it. I'll try. But there's a beauty in this idea that there's this mirroring of consciousness that will then help us to be more reflective. And that's why what you're saying is so important, because if it is approached from this ethical, moral sort of place where we are looking at it from the idea that we're helping inspire humanity, inform humanity, bring humanity to the next level, I think it's great. And it's right in alignment with the age of Aquarius. That's, we're about to end this zodiacal age of Pisces, which is why all hell is breaking loose. But as soon as that's over, we have this opportunity to really rise. And I feel like it's important to know that nothing is ever the enemy except for what we believe within. You know,
Mm, that's powerful. That is
Yeah.
really
And that's the part where I feel like your work comes into play, my work comes into play. The responsibility of how we think, how we feel, and then how we project that in the world is a high level responsibility because we create reality and we do it together.
I want to stop again for a moment and thank our joint friend, Vonti McCrae, who introduced us. And
Yeah.
I say this to her, and I know she'll listen later. I don't think you realized that you just opened Pandora's box in a great, not good, but great way by introducing the two of us because there's something amazing that's about to happen.
I hope so. I don't think there's any accidents. And Vonti was very excited for us to meet. And I remember when she said to me on the phone, I think you're going to like him. And, she went on and on and on. And I thought, okay, let's do it. This is an alignment with my mission and my soul. And, I am 100% seeking out those kinds of collaborators in my life. And not just collaborators, but those are friends. I
Yeah.
have. I have gone through, the purge. And,
Welcome to the purge, my friend. We've both been through it.
and now when like it's a certain, friend and the colors come out, I don't even think anymore. I'm just like, chop, chop, chow, chow, brown cow.
Yep. Look, my statement's always been, if I cut you off, it's because you handed me the scissors.
Yes. Yes. And what we find is the minute we stand in that power, we say, no, we're not this is not our vibe. The next round of amazing souls come in because we're ready. We're ready. And I like to say to people, and this is why I also think they should buy your book and hear your story, because all of life is shedding skin. And we are not who we were yesterday. And we
No,
are not who we're going to be tomorrow. I always say, we won't recognize the person who was there 4 years ago, and the future self will pass our present self on the street and not recognize us. Right?
I like that.
Yeah.
There are times where on my social media, I'll come out and I'll say, allow me to reintroduce myself. And I'm not being sarcastic or funny. What I'm letting you know is if we met a year ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, you didn't meet the person today. You met someone that was a moment in time. So allow me to introduce you to the person that I am today, but not from an egotistical perspective, from the perspective of, again, and I quote my mom a lot, I give to give. The universe, God, whoever you believe in, will take care of that. And
That's
it's
right.
not going to be quid pro quo.
No, no.
It's not how this game works at all.
I love that you say that. There are so many people that say, well, I did this nice thing because this will come back to me. Oof,
Mhm.
I have to stop that and say, well, let me tell you a little bit about the law of cause and effect because it is based on intention, right? As you
Yeah.
say, God, the divine, whatever. This is not an ignorant energy.
No.
This is a
The
highly
universe does not
intelligent
keep
one.
score. Yep. I'll take you just for a moment back to when I was writing the book. And I told you this when we talked before, and that is this book caused an enormous amount of PTSD for me. Because in order to write it from my soul, I had to put myself back into those dark days, those dark hours, back into those really difficult moments. There were days where I was sitting there typing away in just tears rolling. There were days where my body was just shaking because I was back in that emergency room again. But when it was all done and said, two things happened. One, it was very cathartic personally because I was able to cleanse and get all that out. But more important than anything, I kept hearing my mom. Every time I wanted to stop and give up and not write this book, I heard my mama's voice and she said, baby, this book is not for you. This book is not for you. This
Hmm.
book is not for you. It's for the people that will help. And if you don't, this may be the one lifeline that they had and they don't get it. I had to finish that. I didn't want to. I will say this, Emily, finishing this book was the closest to childbirth I think a male will ever go through. It was painful. It was painful. But you know what? At the end of the day, I, for however you want to take it, birth a baby out to the world that is going to change the world. And again, this is not, oh, go buy my book, go buy my book. If you want to, fantastic. I have at it. I welcome it because I'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah.
But it's more of, if you're going to get the book, get it because you know it was written in love and it was written for you as you read it, not for me to say, I'm an author again.
And that is an important distinction because there's a lot of authors these days. A
Yeah.
lot. Anybody can write a book, and that's actually a good thing, but it's also oversaturation of a lot of different information.
Mhm.
So when you pour your heart into something and it's not just a strategic thing to get sales or, hey, there's a lot of people out there who are like, hey, use AI, write a book, blah, blah, blah. My series I did for 7 years, I've been writing it. 7 years. I predate AI. I know that hurts a lot of people when they see my but that moment that you're talking about is you do have to, as an author, go through hell and back in
Yes.
order to really bring a story through you because it comes through you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is a higher intelligence that is working through you, especially when that book has a mission that you may not know the full mission of that book. You may not know whether it's one person or a million or 10 million. The healing is important because when we heal one, we heal all. And that's where it becomes a different thing. When the heart goes into the product and the heart goes into that book or whatever, that changes the frequency. It's not
Absolutely.
now, right? It's not no longer coming from the brain or the intention of, oh, if I write a book, dot, dot, dot. It's
Mhm.
coming from the heart that says, if I write a book and I tell my story in my full truth, then I can heal the world. That is a very different vibe.
Very different.
And where can people follow you and where can people see more of your work or contact you?
Absolutely. If we're on LinkedIn, Roderick Jefferson, you can find me on my company website at roderickjefferson.com. I always say, Angelique, if people can't find me on social media, you're not trying.
Yeah, you just have to Google.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's
it's
out there.
just
If you
that
can
easy.
remember, I'm the guy with the stroke, so I had to put everything in my name just so I could remember it.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, there are no accidents. Like,
This is true.
right? I can't remember my name. Sometime maybe you would have put it under something else. We never know. But all roads lead to exactly where we're supposed to be. I am so happy that we were able to do this. Please, friends, if you have a chance, connect with Roderick. He really is a wonderful soul, and we can't wait to see all the amazing things that you're going to do.
Thank you. I'm truly honored and humbled.
Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angelique. New episodes drop every Friday. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. And remember, folks, no matter what life gives you, you must always keep shining.